All right. So just wanted to, welcome everyone today to our event, our Pitch Perfect event, which is all about how to perfect your elevator pitch. We have two wonderful guests joining us today. Um, Handsome gentleman number one goes by Steve Yoho. He is the retired business manager at Northrop Grumman. And then handsome gentleman number two is Kevin Åkerström. He's a senior manager, global retail, environmental affairs, and safety at Estee Lauder Companies. Sure, many of you, Estee Lauder is a very, very popular company. Both companies are actually. So, they're going to get in today just talking about elevator pitch. But before we do that, just wanted to sort of run down on some basics before we start. I know that some of you have classes at 7, so the latest we'll go to is 6:45. We may or may not go that long, but that is the latest, just to be respectful of people's time. Um, right around 6:30 or so, or maybe before that, I will just be sharing a Qualtrics survey. We always have to have feedback, so we can hear from you on what who you would like us to bring in or any feedback whatsoever. So, without further ado, I just wanted to turn it over to Steve and Kevin. And just, maybe right around maybe between 5:45 and 6, I may have to hop off for a second, but I'll hop right back on, promise. And again, as they go through this event, I'm sure that they're going to be ask all the questions you want. It's meant to be an interactive dialogue. So so don't feel that you can't ask anything and the like. So I'm going to turn it over to Steve and Kevin, and please take it from here.
And real quick, thank you very much for the warm introduction. Andre, can you please give me control so that I can share screen?
All right, you should have now.
Oh, I do. Okay, perfect. And it should be sharing. You guys see it?
It's
Not,
starting.
not yet. Yeah.
It's warming up.
Okay. So, I was reading an email the other day and I saw that this thing was called Pitch Perfect, which is it's a good name. I like it. But we called it Marketing Yourself to Anyone at Any Time, but we didn't change that. So sorry. This is Pitch Perfect, and this is the deck. So, like Andre said, this is designed to be a very interactive presentation today. So please cut us off mid-sentence anywhere you want, and we'll get through it. If you have questions, if you want to throw out some examples and work through some stuff, we get an hour. What do we get?
We have more than enough time.
Yeah, we got more than enough
About the
time.
latest finish.
Yeah, so basically this is supposed to help you prepare yourself so you're not put on the spot. Sometimes you're put on the spot and you don't give your best performance. So we here want to share with you some tactics that you can employ to make sure that when put on the spot, you can be somewhat prepared, put your best foot forward. And so we want this to give you the fundamentals for purposeful communication. And let's go.
So Kevin, why don't you give them your elevator pitch real quick?
Okay. So
No
my
problem.
name's we should do introductions. Great idea. So again, I am Kevin. I am with the Estee Lauder Companies, and I work in environment, health, and safety. So I deal with a lot of regulatory compliance, a lot of safety as far as our workforce is concerned, and sustainability, which covers global citizenship to green practices. I didn't start my career off with the intent of getting into this. I am an alumni from California State University, Long Beach. Go Beach. But my undergrad was in criminal justice, and I did go back and get my MBA. Now, I am from Canada. I'm a twin. There's a lot of things about me that hopefully I'll sprinkle in as we get through this presentation. And then with my wonderful co-conspirator, Steve. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I would. Thank you, Kevin. So yes, hi, my name's Steve Yoho. I worked in the aerospace industry for 34 years, and my last company was Northrop Grumman, where I spent the last 14 years working, and then also had the opportunity to come back to campus and hire interns in entry-level positions. And the last count was about 75 or so at Northrop Grumman. I also chair the MBA programs. So if you're one of the MBA students, I'm the advisory board chair of that organization. And I currently am retired, so I have quite a bit of time on my hands. So anyway, back to you, Kevin.
It feels like he has less time on his hands now that he's chairing a board, is a grandfather now, and but we are grateful that he is sharing his time and knowledge today. I just wanted to get into just the concept of what an elevator pitch is. Now, anybody on the call today want to give it a shot as to how did the elevator pitch come to be? Like, how did it get the name elevator pitch?
And that picture's a big hint, right?
It is. Oh, I see a hand up. Is it Jorah?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Sorry, I can't have my camera on. Long
no
story,
worries.
but I think the elevator pitch is what it sounds like. An introduction, or get to know the person in the amount of time that it takes to ride up an elevator. So like 30 to 45 seconds. To give a little background on yourself or sell yourself if it's coming to an interview.
That is exactly right. Now, specifics. Think about the silicone boom. You know, think of the tech boom, and when you know, you had all these corporations, and now you had all these CEOs of blockchain companies. You know, it was the boom of the 80s, and there was just a ton of companies out there. People were trying to get in, so they would jump in an elevator with people who are in positions of power in these companies, and they would have 30 to 45 seconds to really sell themselves. You know, the elevator kind of trapped them in there. And you know, if it went well, maybe they got another interview. They got to swap business cards. If it didn't, I think security would walk them out. And
Hey, you got a couple smiles on that one.
yeah. And yeah, so it was the dot-com boom. Okay, I could have been doing these as I talked. Cool. I want to say that it's kind of aggressive to do that, and that's not really, that's where it started, and I like to say that we elevated it to some degree that is more, I would say, compassionate to the person that you are pitching yourself to. How do you do it discreetly? How do you become enticing in a short period of time without it sounding like a pitch? And that's hopefully what we can give you today is try not to, you know, really time it. Try not to just bombard people with information. Try not to grab people at an inopportune time. So we want you to realize the settings that you can use. It could be 10 seconds, it could be 2 minutes. It's going to really, the goal is that you're going to need to read the audience and adjust accordingly. But we want to give you the fundamentals and the tools to be able to be confident to share this without it's like, say you were doing an elevator pitch to me, that I immediately know, oh, this person's pitching me. Steve, you're going to say something?
Oh, I can say anything you want.
Oh.
It is not an easy thing to do, to walk up to somebody and just throw out a pitch. I would suggest that you practice it and practice it and practice it and get it down. And, you know, you want to come off genuine. You don't want to come off that you're actually in need, so to speak, right? but you also want to show them, who you are and what you want to do. And it's, like I said, it's not an easy thing to do cold. And as we went into COVID many, many years ago, this became more difficult to talk to people. So, and even on Zoom meetings, it's very difficult sometimes to talk as we see these little boxes across the screen. But I think the better you are at communicating, your skill base, the information that you want, why you're interested in the company, I think all those things matter when you're pitching an elevator pitch. So think of those as we go through this process and see how it can help you develop, your own unique elevator pitch. Okay.
Okay. So what is an elevator pitch? Now let's go through the different categories. Is this my slide or yours, Steve?
I'll do it.
Okay.
We go back. We have done this many, many times. So Kevin and I, kick forth different pages at different times. So bear with us. We haven't done this for 6 months or so, but we're going to get through this. So it is a brief personal advertisement. You're telling a story about yourself. Hey, I like to work for this company, or I'm really interested in what you do. And make sure it sounds genuine. Don't say that I just want to be here because you have an opening. Tell them why the company is so important to you and why you think this one would be a good one. It's almost like having a first question in an interview. So what I would ask people is, well, tell me, why do you want to work for Northrop Grumman? Right? When I was interviewing people, and that makes or breaks people really quick. Well, if they haven't thought about it, they may not come up with a real good answer. And an answer is not like, well, it's because you have an opportunity and I want it. Well, you need to find out why you're interested in the company, do some research and understand why the brief personal advertisement is perfect pitch for them. Okay. Now, we've also indicated this should only last 20 seconds to a minute. So you have to refine everything down to a short hook, if you will, because you want that person to say, hey, I really want to talk to this person again. And so they make the effort to say, hey, can we talk at a different time? All right. Engaging and tailored to the audience. You need to know which company you're working for, who the person you want to talk about. It's not just some Joe Schmo going up the elevator. You want to make sure you know who you're talking to too. Okay. Designed to get the conversation started. That is hi, my name is Steve Yoho. I am currently doing this, right? So you have to figure out what is your cold approach to help too. Make sure it sounds good. The message has to be interesting and value added because you want to make sure they listen to what you're saying. Very important, right? Because you want to catch their attention. And you want to make sure there's an exchange of business cards, which Kevin and I have always said, they don't do really business cards anymore. It's here's my phone information. Here's my information, and you just transfer it that way. Times have changed since we started this, and for the need of doing a elevator pitch to help the students, whether it be the underclass or the MBA students. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Kev.
Awesome, Steve. So like he's saying, these things here are just great rules of thumb. We're not scripting this for you, and nor should it be scripted. There's no right or wrong elevator pitch. You do you. What works for one person might not work for another. The key is there are definitely successful pitches and there's unsuccessful. So again, keeping these things in mind will help you get what it is you're trying to get out of the pitch. All right. So next is, when are the opportunities to use an elevator pitch? Anyone have an idea? Want to throw some concepts out? I'll give the first one. How about a job fair? So the campus runs job fairs pretty frequently, or recruiting events. You step up to the table where someone is recruiting and looking for talent. They might get 20, 30, 100, depending on how big the job fair is, but they don't have 20, 30 jobs to offer. So
Kevin, can I give an example?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I used to go to the MIE, which is the Meet the Industries Expo on campus. Andre's been there. And I was set up for Northrop Grumman, and I'd have a counterpart with me. And as soon as the open the doors and they say, "Okay, everybody, come on in," or the meeting's ready to go, there's lines of people ready to talk to you, right? And I had this one person who decided to come to the line. They gave me their spiel. They handed me a resume. I said, "Okay, thank you very much." I put it down, and I'm supposed to make some kind of an understanding. Do I want to talk to this person again, or whatever on the back of it, as far as how our code is for Northrop? And then they decided to go back in line, come back through again, wait the 20 people, being very nice to let the other people have a chance to talk to. And then they went back a third and a fourth time to make sure that they had the information to give to me to complete what, if it was an elevator pitch back then, or whatever information they wanted to give me at a job fair. So they became noticeable. They gave the information, and I understood exactly who they were. So it all depends on how you want to approach yourself and think about it as you're doing these job fairs.
Yeah, so you want to play off of the interaction that you're having. And if you read that they didn't have time to deal with you more than once, you would get that. But this person recognized that that Steve and his team were eager to talk to this person again, so they kept playing the hand that they were reading correctly, and it made a big impression. So that's the concept here, is how do you stand out and not make it transactional? You're going to get in line, you're going to give them this. When are you hire? How many? You can make it sound very robotic, and you can make it seem like you are having a discussion that's fluid, and you're listening, and you're playing off of them, and you're engaged. So any other ideas where an opportunity to use the tools that we're teaching you here today could be used?
Anybody can open a mic. People, go for it, Rebecca.
In an interview, when they start the interview saying, "Tell me about yourself."
I have that one on here for sure. That for sure is going to be on there. And who knows more about you than you? Maybe your parents, but still, they don't know as much about you as you. So you should be excited about you, and you should you should have already figured out what this company is looking for. When you read between the lines of the job description, you kind of know what they're looking for. So give them the piece of you, because you can't sit there in 2 minutes and tell them your whole life story, but you can give them the pieces that shine the light in the best corners that represent you as a good match with the company. So amazing. Any other ideas?
How about a mixer?
Steve, you're answering? Okay.
I'm trying to spur it on.
Yes. So what about in interview? What is another thing in interviews? Sometimes there's dead space. Like maybe the person that's interviewing you isn't very talkative. Or what about when they call you from the waiting room and you're walking down the hall trying to find, they're going to lead you to the interview room. Maybe it's your interview personally doing it. Small talk. This is a perfect opportunity to separate you from the other people waiting in the interview, or the other people that have interviewed for this job. Or maybe you're making small talk with the receptionist, because you might not realize it, but we go to the receptionist or the people and say, who had the best etiquette or was the most courteous? We're looking at all these soft skills, and we want to see who was polite, who had manners. So we are going to go back. And if you struck up a conversation with someone there, then wonderful. Okay, mixer reception. So if you guys are going to networking events, if you guys are going to award banquets, if you're doing just any type of reception with maybe you went somewhere with your parents, there's always people there that are in potentially careers, or they have connections that could help you. Or even if it's not always looking for a job, it could be looking for a trait, or someone who can mentor, or someone who can help be a good when I go through life, I try to have a board of directors. I want to have people who are specialists around me that I can call on a moment's notice to help support my decision making. So it's a great way to then use this at a mixer or reception to start building those ties. Internship. Now, what specifically about an internship do you guys think makes for great opportunities? Okay, so one thing, and this might not be it with every internship, is that they usually plug you into different departments. You might get to go work with marketing one day and finance another. Maybe you get a day or two with HR. You every single time you are making connections with cross-functional teams, and that's a big one. You don't just want to impress your boss, because you will always have to work cross-functional. So internships are great. You also have a presentation. When you give your presentation, usually they bring in the higher ups. So you want to make sure that when they're in town and they're walking through the hallway, they might say, "Oh, hey, Rebecca, how are you? How are you liking it so far?" That's your perfect opportunity in just very informal setting to say what you like, the experiences you're having, and you can do it in a very profound way that maybe the other interns maybe they weren't as refined, and so that will help someone stick out there.
Yeah, if
Kevin?
I can, real quick, if I can add to that, I think that's a great tip. Sometimes when you get hired, companies sometimes have teams, and it might be if you're doing an internship on one particular team, it may be like it might be that they don't have room on their team, but if you moved around in different departments, met others, and it might be that another team who you interact with will like you and would bring you on board there. So that's, I think, an excellent tip in regard to just, as you're going through the different departments, making sure that you're pitching yourself in a positive way.
Yes.
Let me
And
add to it
even
too,
if
Kevin.
that, oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
So let me add to it too. So at Northrop Grumman, what we used to do, and I headed up the intern program one time. And so what we would do is we'd put them into teams, just like you said, and we'd assign them to projects. And then they get introduced to the directors and the vice presidents at Northrop Grumman. And they would also, they would actually ask, well, can you get on my calendar so I can talk to you, so I can listen to what you have to say. And then they'd give them a score, if you will, because they have to do a project. And if they do really well in this project, sometimes they have been given entry level positions right on the spot. Make sure we hire this person right away. So it all matters in how well you act and how well you do things like that. So this is a great thing as far as the internships is. All you can do is help yourself grow if you're proactive with that. So it's a great one, Kevin.
Then we covered interviews already, so that was a great suggestion there. And then random meetings, I kind of built that one into reception. So yes, random meetings. You're at a coffee shop, you're both waiting for coffee. You notice that they have their name badge on, and you say, "Oh, Boeing or Disney. I love that," or something like that. It's just random. You'll have something in your pocket to share, and then and then make it conversational. Tell me about yourself. What do you do? A lot of people like active listening. So if it's not just you say your piece and then they say their piece, and it's not lining up, you want to make sure that the conversation is building on itself. Okay, so boilerplate. Has anyone heard the term boilerplate before and what that entails? Okay, so I'll tell you. It's you'll see it a lot in like construction or in legal documents. So okay, here you'll see it a lot in your phone contracts. You go to Verizon to get a cell phone, and you got to initial a lot of documents. They didn't draft those up. You didn't walk in the door. Brittany didn't come into the door and say, "Hey, I want this phone," and then they just drafted up 16 pages of documents for you off the cuff. They had a boilerplate. So the boilerplate is it's already printed out. They just need to plug in some characteristics about you, and it will change up the form. They print it out, and now you can sign it off. So they basically did pre-work. They had all this done, and they want to make sure that they cover all their points. They want to make sure that this is a robust boilerplate. And in construction, we have what's called, I used to do construction. We have these boilerplates that, so say we're going to do electrical work, we can pull our tasks and everything from this parent document. Now, think about that as you're going on vacation. You're going to go to Hawaii. No, you're going to go to Cancun, and Cancun has better beaches. So you are going to Cancun. You put everything you need into your suitcase. Now, when you get to Cancun, you're going to go to the beach. Do you take your whole suitcase to the beach? You don't. You just take what you need from the suitcase. So your resume, is a derivative of your boilerplate. Your resume, you should have more than one resume. If you're applying to a company that's very, very creative, say you're going to do accounting, I'm pretty sure that Disneyland would have they would view an accountant resume slightly different than one of the top 4. Doesn't mean it's any less of an opportunity, but you want to make sure that you are tailoring these resumes to what you want. If you're going for finance, or if you're going for accounting, if you're going for a CPA, they're all slightly different. So you want to lead with your best foot forward. So your boilerplate has all your information. It has just put all your jobs, all your supervisors, all these things, and then you can pull from it and put into your resume. So I would just make sure that you guys are tracking everything about yourself. And then you can have this, and then it's also going to be experiences, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, goals are important in your elevator pitch because past performance does not dictate future, right? Maybe you had a bad past and people are like, well, you haven't done much. You've been a barista. There's no way you can be a CFO. So your past doesn't define your future, but you can have goals and say, here are the jobs that I've had, and here are where I'm wanting to get to. And you can show how it's a journey towards the goal that you want. So make sure that it's not always backwards looking, that you can tell your goals, but also play into why those goals and what you're doing to get there. And again, I think I didn't make the point on the resume is it's not your resume. You know, you want to make sure that you maybe touch on some things, or you can read between the lines. When someone says, tell me about yourself in an interview, you don't recite your resume. They've had that. They've already read it. So you want to be able to touch on some points in your elevator point, but give them some more context and create more of a character story there. And then your interests, you don't want to be robotic. You want to add a human touch to this, and you want to be relatable. So by building in some of your interests, you make it more personal. I saw there was a hand up, Brittany.
Yeah, I had a quick question about the goals and interests. So, I've been kind of like wrapping my head around this. So like my goal in my life is to like help assist like 1 million people in my lifetime. So that's either myself directly helping 1 million people, or I've helped someone who helps another person who, you know. And so in my career and all my job paths that I have had, I've always been working with people. But my question is do I tell people that goal? Does that seem too, and lofty is not what I'm worried about, but is it too dreamer-ish? It definitely isn't to me, but I just want to know your guys's like, you know, recommendation on that, your thoughts.
I love it, but go for it, Steve. Yeah.
So I have the same kind of theory, if you will. And whenever I get in front of crowds or the MBA advisory board, or I'm speaking to audiences like I will on Thursday night, I always tell them that I want to help as many students as I can as possible. And so whether that's 1 million, whether it's 100, it's open to interpretation. But the thought process is there to help as many people as possible. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. I think it's a great way to introduce yourself too. And actually, Brittany, we need more people just like that. Okay, we really do, because it shows that you're eager to do as much as you can, and you're willing to go the step forward to do whatever you can. And I think that's a very good quality.
I would just premise that with, is it believable? And are you doing the things to make that dream a reality? So if you threw out something like that to me, I'll be like, oh, what are you doing? And if you're not volunteering and you're not tutoring or however you're saying, then I think you just said that to try to get a job, right? So you have to back up your claims. So if you're saying, I want to help 1 million people, and Steve and I can help you do that, because we are building a pipeline of mentors in this program. What we're doing right now is trying to help you guys, and who knows, it's going to be recorded and who else sees that. So we want you to contact us after this so that you can come back and support students the way we are right now, maybe get on the MBA advisory board. There's always ways to get back to the school, but if you were to say that claim and say, and I'm on the advisory board where, we support alumni and do all that stuff, say no more. I believe that you are going to help 1 million people. So that would just solidify your claim.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've had it for a while and I'm definitely doing things that accomplish it. So I'm just trying to figure out, and just a little backstory on me. I don't know if there's anyone else in here in the same predicament, but I'm getting my MBA. I'm in my second career. So in applying to jobs and things like that, I'm trying to not always just define me by my job or my previous job, kind of like to what you were saying, but to what my goals and my mission are, because I think I can do that in almost, any position that I'm going to apply myself to. So that's why I was kind of asking it if it seems, I don't know, but I agree with you, Kevin, that I do back it up and can explain that even more, but yeah. Thank you, Steve and Kevin.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I would say to that is, if you do it right, and you lay, because you're a dynamic person. There's not just one thing that defines you, like you're saying, if you do it right, you can be patient. So if you throw that fishing line out, I don't fish, but I know Steve does. If you throw that fishing line out, it's there. It's working, and you don't have to keep going at it. Be patient, be confident that you are hitting the right points, and then someone will remember that, or they'll follow up, and then you can be responsive to their questions, or they might say, how do I get more involved? Great. But we don't have to keep going into one angle so that you don't look like you're pigeonholing yourself into like a 501c work, in a sense,
And I was going to say too, just sort of, playing off of Brittany, and maybe this is something that, Kevin or Steve, at some point within the today's discussion, you can touch on it. We do have a lot of students in the MBA program who are making career transitions. So, how do you go about structuring an elevator pitch to help you make that transition, right? When your background is in one thing, but you're looking to step into a whole new arena. So maybe that's something you can touch on at some point.
Well, Kevin's an expert in that field.
Yeah. Yes. I'm in environment, health, and safety, and I don't have a degree in it. But people come to me for expert advice now. So it was calculated decisions, and it's also understanding that business is corporate functions are exactly the same everywhere. What I found is, when I worked in retail, and we might call our third-party vendors, but in construction we call them contractors. So, but it's the same thing. it really is the same thing. So recognizing where you can thread the needles from one hop to another, recognizing that that you have a special skill here that will translate well, that's when you need to do that, and make sure you always make that move before it's too late. That's the one thing. If you are going to change careers, don't wait 40 years to then change. You have to make slow transitions so that it's very logical. So I went from criminal justice to operations to EHS, or to construction to safety risk to compliance risk. So there was and each one took about 7 to 8 years on each one. And I didn't know I was doing that. It's when you're younger, you get into the career that you think you want, and then your eyes open up to all these other things that you're working on. You start to figure out what your strengths are and where they line, and then you make a subtle change. You're like, oh, this is great. And then you notice that there's an opportunity that you are very well suited for. And so it is a progression as we're all changing, and being able to recognize that is key, and keeping your don't close doors. Leave them open. So I know we should probably get running on these slides here. And Steve, you want to go cover the 3 C's? I'll line up the first one for you.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Go ahead. Concise. We have to be concise. We said 30 seconds to a minute, because after that, the attention span for these people going up the elevator or wherever you are talking to, they will drift, they will wander. So you want to keep it to that level to make sure you hook them, as he says, as a Fisher person. It's a pitch, not a speech. You want to be clear. Basically, hit the high points. No acronyms. In my old business at Northrop Grumman, we had an acronym for everything. And I remember being up there and briefing and using acronyms for every different subject. Of course, the audience knew because they were within industry. But if you are just throwing out acronyms to be whatever for, people may not know what they are. So don't use them. And you want to make sure that people understand what you're talking about. And you want to customize it so it matters to the audience, and it matters to the company that you're looking into. And all these things will help you deliver a concise, clear, and customized elevator pitch, or pitch perfect.
Nice. Okay. So here's the fun stuff. We're starting to now is the time to think about your traits and your work experience, and start to craft a message that kind of hits the points that we're talking about before. What are your goals? What are your experiences? What makes you tick? But then sell it in a way that you're presenting yourself as if you are very collaborative with people, or you're very strategic. You want those leadership traits of yours to come through. You want people to know this person has the experience, but this is the forward-thinking strategist that we were looking for, or this is the person that's going to unite multiple teams that we're looking for. So below the details of the job descriptions that and I know we always keep going back to job descriptions. So that's kind of the big key. And I think that's where a lot of people are looking for, is how does this help land the job? And then you can go for these various other things. But when you go to land the job, I post a position, but maybe it's in a very complex. So I want someone who's a problem solver. It's not really written into the job description, but that's when I'm looking at these traits. So that's where you want to make sure that you're positioning yourself, because like for me, I love problem solving. I love innovating stuff. And I would love to be at a company that allows me to flourish in what I love to do. So I want to present myself as that. And if the company doesn't need that, great, because maybe I didn't want a company that didn't want me in that role. So then when you present this stuff and you try to, thread in some of this leadership style of yours into this thing, then what happens is you get a wonderful marriage of a company that wants you to be exactly who you are, and you get to work for a company that allows you to be who you are. You don't want to pretend to be someone you're not. then that company hires you, and then no one's happy because you're not able to deliver what they want, and you're not able to now be the person you want. So in a very roundabout way, these are things. So problem solving skills, ability to work in team, written communication skills, leadership, work ethic, initiative, detail oriented. These are all things that you can talk that are transferable skills. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but it doesn't matter if you were a barista or if you were signing $1 million contracts. Initiative, detail oriented, I got to get your order right, or I have to read. So it doesn't matter what you were doing. Maybe the scope and the complexity might change, but the traits are all there. And as you get better, you should be able to show you can show your pathing and why you can speak to why these are your transferable skills.
Kevin?
Yep.
Can I give an example?
It's I would love
While
for you to
you
give
take
me
a drink of water. So my son Dan went to Cal State Long Beach and graduated, and now is working for the U.S. government. And he ended up working for Vaughn's Grocery Markets. I helped him get a job there, and he was a box boy for a little while, but then he ended up working in the produce department. And you may not think that that matters, and as he was mentioning barista, but as you're stocking the shelves and you are putting fruits and vegetables and any other produce out there, people want to talk to you. People want to ask, is this watermelon the right one? Is it fresh? Is it ripe? Is this pineapple the right size and that has the right taste and everything? And one skill that he really got well done is he was able to he would cut the fruit open and he would have them taste it, and his customer service became very, very important as he knew how to please his audience, and he'd be able to speak to a way that he can talk to big crowds. So he learned that skill as he was helping, the people shop for the groceries for whatever they may want. He learned how to talk to people and learned how to find out what they want. And he has learned the skill on and for several times now. And he briefs audience of 80 to 100 people for the US government on different things that he does, which we really can't talk about, but that's what he does. But he learned that skill and some of these things on this list just working for Vaughn's Grocery Market in the produce department. So as Kevin indicated, you could be a barista, you could be a fast food checkout person. It depends on how you apply that skill based upon where you want to go and where you want to end up. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. And remember, the people that are hiring you probably did those same jobs. They probably had the same type of trajectory, so they can relate. So so again, right back to that boilerplate. If you were taking all these things and you wrote problem solving skills, and then you hit and you put some give an example. An example of when you really had to solve a problem. Maybe it was when you did group work at school. You go to a class, they put you in a group of 4 people. Maybe they're not all stellar, right? So someone's not getting. So how did you deal with that team, the ability to work in a team? Put that example in there. Maybe you had people who didn't take a job seriously at Starbucks when you're working there or something. Put that example in there. Start building this boilerplate of examples. You're not, so it's there. Now, let's say you're going to go interview, you're going to go to a career fair. You can read your boilerplate all the way through. You can kind of remember all these actions and responses, and you can come back to it when you get new jobs, or you always want to keep them updated. And then, but the key here too is when you give your 30 seconds to 1 minute pitch, they might ask you more questions. It might go into 10 minutes. It might have caught the fish, right? So you need to be ready to get off your script and now start getting into the whole ability to work in a team. Now that you've read your boilerplate, you can go into detail on some of these. That's a whole nebulous of things that you prepared for. And so now you can like pivot, be comfortable pivoting, read the room, understand that they ask you and then you can go with them under this new topic, and they would be very appreciative of that. And then you, again, are still best foot forward because you're not caught off guard. You've already prepared. They don't know that you prepared this, but you do. And it just comes naturally. It will come very, and when things do come naturally, it shows confidence. It shows that you can work under pressure, and it shows that that you are prepared and to some degree trustworthy. Like, I trust what you're saying. You didn't have time to come up with you didn't fake a story or give a story that belongs to somebody else. I would just, if you're just right off the cuff and it's very natural, I would just 100% agree that I'm believing and appreciating what you're telling me.
So Kevin, a lot of these examples you just gave are also good information for behavioral based questions. So if you
Yes.
have those things written down, you'll have good examples of things. If, let's say, you had to work within the team, like he talked about, as far as if you had to deliver a project on time, or a very stressful project, or you had to deal with, an individual that, how'd you work that out to get the thing delivered, right? So those also become behavioral based questions that you could be asked, whether it be on leadership, decision making, innovation, or there was one other one I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's 4 big keys for behavioral based questions. And you have those examples down, they'll just come right to you when you get asked that question.
Okay, so what makes you you? So you guys are new. I think a big piece is people want to know about your school. You guys go to a great school. It's very well renowned. I think you guys are very work ready, whereas you guys have a good work experience while going to school here. So don't be shy to not share the name, but talk about your major, talk about where you are in school, because people want to know, are you, maybe you did make a great impression and they're ready to hire you full time, but you're not ready. So just be upfront about where you are. Your qualifications, projects, leadership roles, research, internships, anything that's relevant to the situation and to the audience. Again, it doesn't have to be what Susan Sample is using. It's what qualifies you. And then your goal is, why are you interested in the meeting? So again, so many, Steve and I can both say that people just want a job sometimes, and that's just very uninspiring. I heard you're hiring. Why? Well, because I need a job. Okay, well, I would love to hire someone who wants a career, who when they were 16 dreamed of being a pilot, and now they're applying for United Airlines or something like that because it's their dream, or this is what they built things, put things in place to get to the point to be able to talk to somebody in this industry. So you want to make sure that that you're aligned, that you're not a flight risk, that some people have lots of gaps in employment, they're not interested in here. It costs a lot of money and time to train and hire people just to lose them in 6 months because they weren't that interested in the first time. So a big one on goals is, don't just say like, oh, I want to do finance. Tie it in, research the company. Quick story. When I was going to the Estee Lauder companies, I went online before my interviews and I researched the company. And again, I'm not going to sell myself as a cosmetics expert, but I went into the back pages. I went into the pages that most traffic wouldn't go to. So I have a lavender farm and an orchard up in Oregon. And so I recognize that they were big in sustainability and buying forestry to prevent development in it, that they are big into creating gardens in metropolitan areas. So this was a way for me to say, I am the kind of person you're looking for. And I was very excited to read that you guys are doing this. And it caused them to have a million questions of me about my farm. And I planted 4,000 trees. And so sometimes you just got to find your way in. And then what value can you bring to this company? So highlight your transferable skills, of course, connect what they need to what you offer, translate, connect the dots based on your research. So and one thing I don't think that they do now is there's a lot of job boards, a lot of people who have had jobs that will tell you what the environment is like, pros or cons. So those are all things that you can arm yourself with to be prepared to make sure that that not only that you present yourself well, but that you then maybe can ask the right questions of them when they say, oh, do you have any questions? You literally want to know these answers. You're not asking the question just because you've been told don't leave without asking a question. And so many times I get that question at the very end. I'm like, I don't even think you care about what I answer. Like, I just feel like you asked that just for the sake of asking it. So if there was a question that you asked that I'm like, oh, good question, or you wanted to use it because it's going to help make you determine if I'm the company you want to work for. So be very impactful. And remember, those questions, those are big. And again, that's sometimes the very last impression that you make. And if that one's a strong one, sometimes that last question can be a real dud, and it really kind of taints everything that came before it. Engage, call to action. So I know some people can be pretty aggressive and saying, can I get a meeting with you next week? Can I get on your calendar? Read the room, be patient. If you did a good job and can we exchange business cards? Or if this is a mixer, do you always go to these mixers? Will I see you at the next one? Sometimes you can lay in a soft one, and so that you can build it in so it doesn't look too firm of a call to action, and like you're giving me homework and things to do. I want it to feel more natural. And if you did things right, patience is also a virtue. And I'll be like, wow, that person was pretty confident, and I look forward to going to the next meeting because this person will be there. Anything on that, Steve?
No, you hit them all pretty good. I was thinking of different examples I could give of different things that you said, but you hit everything really high, so I'm not going to add to it.
Okay, so this is kind of our last slide before we say, questions and stuff like that. But
Or give us your own pitch.
Yeah. But here we kind of did talk about this. So this is kind of just, we don't have to go through all these points, but obviously a retail and a barista, you have a lot of communication skills, a lot of team working. There's a lot of training and mentoring of people in all different walks of life, customer service skills. I mean, that's just 4 of them, but tutoring. These are things that you guys have probably done. Maybe you can say you have subject matter proficiency. You have the ability to process information. So you're teaching somebody something and they're not getting it. So now you recognize that and you can pivot and you can try a different method. So tutoring gives you that ability to process information, ability to simplify and convey complex subjects, strong verbal communication skills. So go back into your resumes, look at these. Lots of times in resumes, people say, I drove sales 28% higher. I don't know what that is. Was it really low last year because the store was closed because of COVID and then now it's open? It doesn't mean anything to me. Show me what you did as far as leadership skills, or explain how some of your leadership skills aided in your ability to do some of these things. But look at your resumes and try to find and do this for them. Any questions, or anyone want to bring up roles? Or, I mean, this is the last slide, so any questions that you have for anything we covered is fair game.
The quiet group.
Does anybody have an elevator pitch?
I could probably string it together.
Oh,
So,
courageous.
unless somebody else wants to go. Anybody else? All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Brittany Hong. I am currently in my second career at Cal State Channel Islands as an admissions counselor, primarily working with transfer students. And my first career was completely different. I was a strength and conditioning coach working with professional athletes down to the age of 5. Now, what do both of these careers have in common is my goal to help people. And I do that on a daily basis, no matter who it may be, whether it's in the grocery store or helping somebody to fill out the Cal State application, or helping one of my former athletes get onto the national team for soccer to make the Olympic team. My goal in life is to help 1 million people. So, and this is me trying to close it up now. But yeah, I used to have an elevator speech when I was just a strength and conditioning coach, but now trying to merge everything together. That's why I came tonight. I'm trying to find the best way to kind of what you have on here, transferable skills, and kind of move those that between my 2 career paths. So, but that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
I liked it. I think maybe, getting into the different examples is something that could be left for a follow-up question. Oh,
Okay.
how are you doing that? Maybe what would be interesting is what was the origin story of your goal? Like, did you
Okay.
always have that goal, or like, because that would be like, oh wow, that was a profound moment in your life, and now
Yeah.
I'm on a mission, right? So
Yeah.
maybe just lead off with the origin story, and then I'm going to be like, tell me more on this.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I can do that. I'll add.
But nice job. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't.
great job.
I'm going to work on the words on that. So, and then
And
we'll.
remember
Yeah.
that there's no right or wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
right. So you did really good.
And they don't have to have a beginning, middle, and end. It's not like act 1, act 2, act 3. It can be simple. You just maybe you don't want to leave it on a cliffhanger. You want it to just, again, you want to like end. So think of it as simple as going around the horn. You just get assembled into a new group, or you're a bunch of interns and you all just got put into this room and they said, how about we all introduce yourselves and go around the horn? So sometimes people will say who they are, where they're from, and an interest. That's as simple. How do you get that across in
Okay.
30 seconds and pass to the next one? And I'm not saying that that's an elevator pitch, but that's something where it's like, okay, just go very, very simple. And then now take that and say, how do I go a little bit more for someone asking me this specific question? So you can try to see how that story would fit in different contexts.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Indeed, good job. And just so you know, real quick, everyone, I'm just going to share our quick survey feedback in the chat. So we can still continue with questions until, we still have time, but I just wanted to share the survey. And right now, one thing I do want to say is that I think for me, some things that really stood out was I like how you mentioned in regards to the elevator pitch not coming off as transactional, but being genuine. And Brittany, with you sharing your desire, your goal of wanting to help 1 million people, that by no means comes off as transactional. And with Kevin mentioning, sharing the origin story of that is enticing. That hooks people in, I think. And I think if you're able to just sort of close that up, wrap it up and close it up, I think that's actually a strong elevator pitch, actually.
Well, Andre, you want to join our team?
Yes, I will send you my contact.
Yeah.
Who else would like to try?
Or if you're too bashful in trying, what are some takeaways? Anybody have some takeaways? Anything that stood out? And feel free, open up your microphone. You don't have to turn on your camera, but you can open up your microphone if you want.
I liked that you really covered it not being transactional, because not only is it good to know that you shouldn't be just like throwing out all these facts trying to impress, but really be genuine about the information that you're sharing, so you don't come across as like pretentious, but more as like human.
Yeah, so when we hire someone, when I hire someone, or when I'm looking to establish a group, we have to work with these people for 40 hours a week sometimes. I know this is probably the best way to put it, but would you be willing to go have a beer with this person in a sense, right? Like, you have to get along. There has to be some, you can't go like, man, this person's awful, but they sure deliver on their goals and they do this. You don't want that. You want to deliver on your goals and be a great a fit with this person. So yes, again, it's going to be, is it a genuine, do we get along? Does the person not just go, yes, I check the boxes on experience, but this person's going, I'm captivated and I do want to spend more time with this prospective client or with this person on a team, or I will recommend you to others because we all have people on our teams that are just amazing at, say, Excel documents, but you want to make sure that they're not going to ruffle feathers on another team. So again, it's trying to find that pairing. And so again,
I look at it
lean
as
on
the
that.
right fit.
Yep.
And one thing that I was really successful about for Northrop Grumman, for those 70 some people that I got hired, I got to know them. I spent a lot of time on campus and watched them in class, watched them at the SCPD Leadership Retreat, which is an underclass mentoring program. And I actually got to see them perform. And then I wanted to watch how well they interchanged and communicated with other people. This way I could see, is it a good fit for the way we do business? If not, so I was lucky enough to have a retention rate of about 97% of people that I selected and hired to stay on at Northrop Grumman. At least until I retired. I don't know what the percentage is now. But it was, if you find the right person and you find the right fit, it's going to be a good win. And then you will want to take them out for a beer.
Mm. And thank you for sharing. Is it Jora? Is it Jora? Am I saying that right? Hopefully.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute it. Yes, that is right, Chora.
Okay, good. Really good. So, and I guess I was gonna say real quick, Steve and Kevin, you mentioned business cards. Nowadays, for everyone, their business card is LinkedIn, right? So
Yep.
that's a big thing, right? Right. So maybe what are your recommendations on, you know, asking to connect on LinkedIn and on how to sort of slide that in and, you know, can I just connect with you on LinkedIn, or how do you like to stay in touch? How do you like to communicate? What are your thoughts on that? Wrapping that up with the elevator pitch.
I get a lot of people asking me if they can join my network on LinkedIn. I do not accept anybody that I do not know.
Mhm.
And because I did it once, and then next thing I started getting advertisements for some insurance or something else that I really don't want to spend the time, and so I blocked that. And so I will not do it unless I know who the person is or I recognize the name. And then I usually send them a message afterward. Hey, nice, thank you for looking into this and whatever it may be. But I will not accept anybody that I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm almost the same way. Steve and I will go and do a retreat and there's 70 to 100 students. I know if there's any one day out of the year where I get the most requests, it's the day after the retreat. And I just accept everyone. If I meet you and I recognize you and say, hey, it was great getting to know you, just wanted to make sure you had my contact. Just don't make me regret accepting you. And oftentimes, to like what Steve was saying, someone's like, I see that they're a Cal State alumni, Cal State Long Beach alumni. Maybe they went to College of Business. Okay. I forget a face. Sometimes I accept them, and then they're like, hey, so who's your insurance provider? Like, sometimes I feel like I got catfished. You know, like somebody got in and now I'm regretting it. So be calm, be patient, like don't put me, hey, when can I get you on the calendar? Let's build that rapport a little bit, and then you'll know from our talking points, our messages, when it's time to start turning it up a little bit. But by all means, and anyone on this, if you guys want to find me on LinkedIn, that would be great. Yeah.
And I can share a follow-up email with everyone who's attended today with Kevin and Steve as well. If you're comfortable with that, I can do that as well for this group.
That'd be great. That'd be
Since you
great.
made the effort to participate, and there you go, right? You're the in crowd, right? So
Never been part of the in crowd. But we are open for any questions, whether it be of Northrop Grumman, whether it be Estee Lauder, whether it be of our involvement at Cal State Long Beach. We both serve on the alumni board. Well, let me rephrase that, on the MBA board, and we both served on the SCPD board. Kevin and I have been friends for about 10 years. And we've done the leadership retreats for the SCPD. We do this. We do many other things. And we have actually kicked around ideas of how to do more mentoring, more helping, anything that we can to help students. And Kevin is right that we do these kind of things all the time. And Kevin doesn't realize it, and I'm going to give him a big hint here, is that he's going to have to do his elevator pitch on Saturday too. Because Saturday we have a 2024 planning event for the alumni board. I did it again, alumni board, the MBA advisory board. So I think that it'll be interesting to see how well he's prepared.
Oh, interesting. Is okay. We could talk after. I mean, the details, because it's just our board retreat. But okay.
Yeah, but everybody's got to go around the room like the horseshoes,
gotcha.
just like Andre said, and introduce themselves, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
we're bringing in the other boards now, right? That makes sense.
yeah.
Yep.
And just we have about like 5 minutes left, but again, feel free to ask questions. The great thing is you have a wonderful guest, actually have, management experience. So very well-known company. So even if you have questions in regards to career trajectory or what that looks like in management, key positions in industry, now would be a good time to ask. Don't be shy. You have their attention now.
Yeah.
Quiet
So I'll
group.
just say that a lot of you probably, and again, it's not new. You guys have done interviews. You've walked down those hallways going into the rooms. You've gone to career fairs. Where now you just have some of these tools to say, how do we enhance what I've been talking about before? Now I can go back and think about what I used to say, and then make some subtle changes, and you might be surprised at how more smoothly they go, or how many more fish you catch.
I would also take time to practice, whether it be in front of a screen, just like you're doing now, or in front of a mirror, whatever it may be, old school. And be prepared to be interrupted, because they may ask different questions at different times. So you just have to make sure you can think on your feet fast enough, right? So whether you have a canned speech that you're doing and then somebody interrupts you and you're just lost, well, you're going to have to be successful and understand how to adapt to change. This is the first indication, because somebody who doesn't have a lot of time will probably say, well, wait, let me ask you this, let me ask you that. Well, it may throw you off your game, but you have to figure out how you get back on your game. So be prepared.
Yeah.
And honesty is a good one. If you don't know, sometimes you could say, I have an example that I can share with you that's pretty close, I think, to what you're looking for, but it might not be a bullseye. And they'll be like, I would love to hear that. Fine, So don't make up a story, or don't just go off on a tangent. I watch these like political, and I don't like to watch it, but if you watch the president's press secretary, I don't care who it is or what party it is, none of them answer the question. right? They dance around it and they just fill the air with words, and it's very, very frustrating. So don't be that person.
Yeah.
That's great advice from a Canadian.
Oh, our parliamentary hearings are nuts. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
robble, robble, robble. And then someone makes a point, robble. Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah. I haven't been to Old Canada in a while. I think I've been to like Winnipeg, Ontario, Toronto, BC.
Mhm.
I don't think I've been to Saskatchewan, Edmonton. Winnipeg's the coldest for sure. I liked it though.
Yeah, that is cold. My mom's from Whitehorse from the Yukon. So
Mm.
I've only gone up there in the summer because in the winter it's like the sun goes away. So that's cold. But in the prairies where my dad's from, it's the coldest I've been. -40 is the coldest I've been.
Yeah.
Which is funny. A side note about -40, it's the same temperature in Celsius and Fahrenheit at that temperature.
Mm.
Fun fact.
Fun
Fun
fact.
fact.
Well, I know it is about 6:45. It is 6:45 now, and some of you have a class. I don't know if whether Steve or Kevin have any parting words before we wrap things up. If not, then I can close us out.
Andre, thank you for hosting. It was really great. And if there's anybody that has questions, hit us up on LinkedIn. Be more than happy to answer them. Okay.
Thank you, Al. Thank you all.
And thank you both, Steve and Kevin. Excellent advice that you shared. And to all of you who attended, thank you so much. I'll follow up again with an email sharing their contact information. Please do reach out and, talk to excuse me, talk to them about the MBA Advisory Board. I'm sure they'd love to share more with you in regards to what that's all about.
We have a fun group called Friends of the Board who actually do beach cleanups. And this is my advertisement for that, obviously.
Yep.
Who get together with alum and students, and they do beach cleanups and they do other things to enhance the ideas of getting together. And you never know who you're going to meet, and never know who might be able to give you a job.
Yep,
And
indeed.
it's a soft entry. So you don't have you can go to one meeting a year or 10 meetings a year, and it can develop you into expanding with your career or contracting when you can't, and it might help you get on the board if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, definitely reach out to us for that. And again, we'll see everybody on the flip side.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for listening.
Take care now. Bye.